Ira, I'm not coming back. Move on. I'm with Lena Voss now. Nexus Flow drops tonight, based on your inspiration. Don't bother calling. P.S. You never grasp scale. Yeah, that's it. That's what I got from Derek, my supposed-to-be fiancé. It popped up while I was adjusting my veil. But you know what pains most? That thing. That P.S. You never grasp scale. And the smirk word, yeah. He thinks I'm useless, that I lack vision. But I held firm. Just stared at the words as 300 guests chatted under string lights in my backyard, waiting for a fiancé who'd already sold our future. My name is Ira Wilson. I'm 41 years old, a software developer who spent 5 years building Axiom Flow alone, in my garage, on my savings, with no investors and no compromises. I trusted Derek. He was my fiancé, my product strategist, the one who promised to help me go big. Now I tapped the live stream link. There he stood at the Voss Tech Summit, arm around Lena Voss, demoing a platform that copied Axiom Flow's interface, error messages, even its color palette. The crowd cheered like he'd invented something new. My stomach twisted, but my hand stayed steady. I muted my phone, smoothed my dress, and walked toward the champagne table. A guest asked if everything was okay. Perfect, I said, smiling. Deep inside, I was already running code in my head. If betrayal _detected, activate _contingency_plan. This wasn't the end. It was my first real deployment. Back home, I logged into my secure dev environment. My source code was untouched, but Nexus Flow used my hidden audit backdoor, a silent logging function only Derek and I knew about. That meant he didn't just leak specs. He gave them direct access. I pulled server logs. 47 unauthorized attempts in the past 10 days, all from Voss Industries' IP blocks. They'd been inside my system for weeks. My heart thudded, but I breathed slowly. Panic breaks code. I've learned that the hard way. I opened a terminal and typed commands to trace data exfiltration paths. Nothing was missing yet, but the intent was clear. They weren't just copying features. They were studying my architecture to rebuild it. I checked Axiom Flow's live dashboard. Real users were already reporting Nexus Flow crashes. Good. Truth has weight. I backed up every file to 3 encrypted locations, then enabled forensic logging on all ports. If they came back, I'd know. And this time, I'd let them in just enough to hang themselves. I saved the session and whispered, "Welcome to my trap." At 8 a.m., a black sedan idled outside my house. The window rolled down. "Ms. Wilson." A man in a tailored suit gestured to the back seat. Inside sat Damien Voss, mid-70s, sharp eyes, no smile. "Your code is clean," he said without greeting. "Derek's version fails under basic stress. Mine shouldn't. I didn't get in." "You tested my system?" He nodded. "For 8 months. Fake clients, API floods, 0-day probes. You patched every flaw within 2 hours. No one else even noticed." He handed me a tablet. "Fix this neural core in 72 hours. Succeed, and you become chief architect of Voss AI. Fail, and your IP claim vanishes legally." I studied the glitching prototype. Unstable weights, memory leaks, a gaping security hole. "Why me?" He leaned forward. "Because you build things that last. My daughter only knows how to take." I got in the car. 2 blocks later, he added, "Don't disappoint me." I didn't answer. I was already mentally rewriting the core's loss function. The neural core crashed every 11 seconds. Its decision trees looped endlessly. Its encryption layer was a joke. I barely slept. I rewrote the attention mechanism from scratch, hardened the data pipeline, and added quantum-resistant encryption. Not because Voss asked, but because I couldn't ship broken code. By hour 68, it processed complex queries in milliseconds, self-corrected errors, and logged every anomaly. I sent the files. His reply accepted. Relief lasted 10 minutes. Then my phone buzzed a headline. Voss AI's new hire. Jilted fiancé who cried into the boardroom. Anonymous quotes called me desperate, bitter, a failed bride. Then came Derek's words in bold. She couldn't keep a man. How can she run AI? I didn't rage post. Didn't block the site. I opened my encrypted drive labeled Vault. Inside, Years of Slack logs where Derek begged for co-ownership, draft contracts with his scribbled name, and voice notes of him saying, "No one cares who coded it, only who sells it." I'd saved everything. Every lie. Every red flag. I selected all files. This wasn't just evidence. It was my weapon. I attached the entire archive to an email and addressed it to Damien Voss. Subject line, "Let them talk." Body, one sentence. Proof Derek breached NDA and stole design. I hit send. Then I pulled up Axiom Flow's live dashboard. Nexus Flow's user count had already dropped 40%. Real developers knew the copy was hollow. I sipped cold coffee and opened a new terminal. If the press wanted a story, I'd give them one worth telling. I began drafting a public statement, not defensive, not emotional. Just facts. Launch date, original code commits, security audits. I'd let the work speak for itself. My phone buzzed again. A message from my sister saw the news. "Are you okay?" I didn't reply. I remembered Derek whispering, "Your sister thinks you're obsessed with work." Had he used her too? I added her number to my monitoring script, just in case. Then I wrote a final line in my log, day one of new build. No trust, only truth. Outside, rain began to fall. Inside, my servers hummed, ready for whatever came next. Voss replied within an hour, evidence received. Legal team is drafting. I exhaled for the first time in days, but I knew this was just the opening move. I opened my vault folder again, not to dwell, but to prepare. There were 142 Slack messages where Derek pushed to simplify the code so he could explain it to investors. He'd called my security layers overkill. Once, after I refused to give him admin access, he sighed and said, "You don't trust me?" After everything. I'd relented just once. That was the night he copied the backdoor specs. I'd logged it. Now I compiled everything. Timestamps, IP trails, message hashes. I added the deepfake risk assessment I'd written months ago, just in case. Then I encrypted it all under a new key, justice.v1. I didn't do this for revenge. I did it because in software, truth isn't opinion, it's data. And data doesn't lie. My phone buzzed a news alert. Derek Reeves sues Ira Wilson for withholding critical IP. I almost laughed. He was suing me for not letting him steal more. I opened my terminal and typed, schedule_public_statement equals true. The world would see who built what. And who just pretended. My first Voss AI board meeting felt like walking into a lion's den. Lena sat at the far end, smirking. When it was my turn to present, she accidentally shared her screen, a slide titled, "Our New Emotional AI Trainer," with my engagement photo underneath. Laughter rippled through the room. I stood my ground. I plugged in my laptop and pulled up live performance data. "While you were joking," I said calmly, Nexus Flow crashed under 500 concurrent users. Axiom Flow handled 50,000. I showed the graphs, clean lines for mine, jagged drops for theirs. Silence fell. I added, "Real intelligence doesn't need gimmicks." Lena's smile vanished. Damien Voss stood. "Nexus Flow team," he said, "you're fired. Effective now." As they shuffled out, Lena shot me a look that promised war. I met her eyes and gave the slightest nod. Let her come. I'd already built firewalls for people like her, both in code and in life. Back in my office, I received a system alert. Unauthorized access attempt blocked. Origin, Lena's workstation. I smiled. She was already testing me. Good. I logged the attempt and added it to my growing file. I filed my lawsuit the next morning. IP theft, breach of NDA, trade secret misappropriation. Within hours, Derek countersued, claiming he was the visionary and I'd hoarded technical control to sabotage him. His lawyer leaked edited voice notes to TechPulse. Ira admitted she couldn't scale alone, they quoted. The headline read, "Scorn developer weaponizes code in bitter revenge." Comments flooded in, crazy X alert. Tech isn't therapy. I read them once, then closed the tab. I wouldn't play their game. Instead, I uploaded the unedited audio to a public ledger. Timestamps intact, metadata verified. In the full clip, Derek says, "Just let me take credit in meetings. No one needs to know you coded it." I also published my GitHub history. 5 years of solo commits. every bug fix, every feature. Then I tag TechPulse, publish the truth, or prepare for defamation. My inbox exploded, but I stayed focused. I had a neural core to stabilize and a legacy to protect. That night, I dreamed of servers falling like dominoes. I woke up and wrote a new fail-safe protocol. Better safe than sorry. The video appeared at 3 a.m. Ira Wilson admits Axiom Flow was stolen. My face, my voice, but the words were wrong. I confessed to copying an old startup's code. It was a deepfake. A good one. Within hours, it had 2 million views. Comments called me a fraud, a desperate liar, someone who should have stayed home. My chest tightened, but my hand stayed steady. I downloaded the video and ran it through my forensic toolkit. The AI model used was trained on private recordings, specifically our strategy sessions in my bedroom. Derek had been recording me. I traced the rendering GPU cluster to a cloud account registered under Lena R. Stone, Lena's fake identity. I compiled the evidence. Audio fingerprints, IP logs, model weights. Then I called Voss. Can you trace the model? He asked when he answered. I already did, I said. It's Derek. And he used my bed as a studio. I hung up, opened my messaging app, and typed a message to Derek. You recorded me in bed. That's wiretapping. Federal offense. I hit send and watched the delivered tick appear. Derek didn't reply, but Voss did within minutes. Forward all data. FBI Cyber Division is standing by. I sent everything. Then I pulled up my home security logs. Sure enough, 2 nights ago, Derek had lingered outside my gate after dropping off a forgotten jacket. He'd held his phone toward my window for 47 seconds. I added that timestamp to the file. By noon, TechPulse retracted their story, but the damage spread. My sister called, crying, "People are saying you're unstable." I almost told her about the deepfake, but stopped. If Lena got to her once, she might again. Instead, I said, I'm fine. Trust what you know, not what they say. After we hung up, I transferred $50,000 to her account with a note for your silence. Keep the change. I knew Lena had paid her. That's how they got those quotes. Now, my sister had a choice. Take the money and stay quiet or burn the bridge. Either way, I'd controlled the leak. That evening, I reviewed Axiom Flow's ethics license. It was time to stop defending. Time to open the gates. If they wanted to see my work, I'd show them everything on my terms. The podcast dropped on a Tuesday, Truth Behind the Tech Scandal. My sister's voice filled my earbuds. Ira's always been jealous of happy couples. She sabotaged her own relationship. My stomach dropped. I'd suspected Lena might use her, but hearing it hurt more than I expected. The host asked, "Did she ever seem unstable?" My sister sighed. She lived in that garage for years. Skipped birthdays, holidays. Obsessed. I paused the audio. Checked the payment logs. There was a $50,000 transfer from a Shell account to my sister 3 days before the recording. Lena had bought her story. I didn't call. Didn't cry. I opened my banking app, typed in my sister's account, and sent $50,000. In the memo I wrote, "For your silence. Keep the change." Then I blocked her number. Not out of anger, but protection. If Lena could turn my blood against me, she could use her again. I wouldn't let that happen. That night, I reviewed Axiom Flow's core license one last time. Tomorrow, I'd make it public. Let the world see what real code looks like. Clean, ethical, and built without lies. My sister's betrayal stung, but it also clarified something. I didn't need their approval to be worthy. I just needed to keep building. At 9 a.m., I pushed the button. Axiom Flow's core, every module, every algorithm, went live on GitHub under the Axiom Ethics license. Free to use, the README read, but never to exploit. Credit required. No surveillance. No data hoarding. Within an hour, developers worldwide forked it. Universities adopted it. Startups rebuilt their stacks around it. By noon, Nexus Flow's user base collapsed. Why pay for a broken copy when the original was free and better? Tech blogs called it the most ethical open source release in a decade. Derek's investors pulled out within the day. Lena sent Voss a desperate email begging for a bailout. He didn't reply. I watched the traffic surge on my public dashboard. 50,000 clones in 24 hours. Real people building real things. No theatrics. No lies. Just code that worked. That evening, my phone buzzed. A message from Derek. You ruined everything. I didn't respond. Instead, I updated the license's contribution guidelines. All pull requests must pass integrity checks. Even in openness, I protected the mission. Because some things shouldn't be corrupted, even by goodwill. Voss called us both into the main conference room. Sunlight glared off the glass table as he laid out the trial, 30 days. Rebuild Voss AI's cloud infrastructure from the ground up. He turned to me. Ira, you handle the core, the AI engine, security, data pipelines. Then to Lena, you rebuild the client-facing layer, dashboards, APIs, user experience. Same budget, same deadline, same resources. Whoever delivers a stable, scalable system gets a permanent leadership role, he said. Lena smirked. Finally, a fair fight. I said nothing. I knew better. Fair meant nothing to someone who'd already cheated. Back at my workstation, I pulled up the legacy system. It was a disaster, patched with outdated libraries, no encryption between services, audit logs disabled to boost performance. I mapped my rebuild in my head. Modular microservices, quantum-resistant encryption, self-healing nodes, and real-time anomaly detection. I'd need every hour of those 30 days. That night, my system alerted me. Unusual data scan from internal IP. I traced it, Lena's terminal. She was already probing my project folder. I let her see a decoy architecture. Flashy but fragile, with obvious vulnerabilities. The real design stayed offline, in my encrypted notebook and in my mind. At 2 a.m., I wrote the first module of the new core. Rain tapped the window. I whispered, let her try to break what she doesn't understand. On day 12, my entire server cluster went dark. Emergency alerts blared across my dashboard. I checked the logs. Malware injected using Lena's biometric credentials. She'd used her admin access to plan a logic bomb designed to corrupt data on write. My heart pounded, but my hand stayed steady. I'd expected this. Weeks ago, I'd installed a ghost protocol. Every action in the live system was mirrored in real time to an air-gapped backup server hidden under my desk, never connected to the network, powered by a separate battery. I flipped the failover switch. Within 8 minutes, the system was fully restored. Clean. Secure. No data lost. Then I pulled the security footage from the server room. There she was, Lena at 11 p.m., USB drive in hand, swiping her badge to access the core rack. She plugged in the drive, typed for 2 minutes, then left. I compiled the video, logs, and access records into a single file and sent it to Voss with one line. She's not leading. She's cheating. His reply came instantly, handle it. I didn't report her to HR, didn't demand her removal. Instead, I updated my public demo plan to include a live intrusion detection feed. During the final presentation, the world would see exactly what leadership looked like. That night, I added a new security layer. Biometric _override equals require _dual _auth. One mistake was enough. She wouldn't get a second chance to break what I built. 2 days later, Voss asked to meet me privately in his quiet lounge overlooking the city. Rain streaked the windows. He poured 2 cups of tea and sat heavily. Lena's mother did the same to me, he said, voice low. 30 years ago. She tried to steal my first company. I trusted her. I let her in. He looked older, tired. I lost everything. My reputation. My patents. Nearly my sanity. He met my eyes. I won't make that mistake again. He slid a matte black keycard across the table. Full admin access to every Voss AI system. Every server. Every log. Every financial record. I took it. Why trust me? He almost smiled. Because you didn't leak the footage. You used it to build something better. He stood. Now finish what you started. Back at my desk, I activated the new access. The entire empire unfolded before me. Decades of innovation, brilliance, and regret. I began rewriting the core, not just to fix it, but to honor what it could become. I integrated Axiom's ethics engine into the foundation. No backdoors, no data hoarding, no hidden tracking. By dawn, the first stable build was running. My phone buzzed a message from Lena. You think you've won? This isn't over. I deleted it without replying. It was already over. She just hadn't realized it yet. The day of the public demo arrived with sky-high stakes. Voss AI's auditorium was packed. Investors in tailored suits, journalists with recorders ready, engineers watching like hawks. Lena went first. Her presentation opened with slick animations and bold claims about revolutionary client experience. But when she ran the live stress test, her system buckled. Error messages flooded the screen. She rebooted. Same crash. Murmurs spread through the room. Then it was my turn. I walked on stage in a simple gray blazer, plugged in my secure drive, and launched the new Voss AI infrastructure. Instantly, data streams lit up, quantum encrypted, zero latency, self-healing. I simulated 100,000 users. The system handled it without a flicker. I pulled up the intrusion log and replayed Lena's malware attempt from 2 weeks prior, showing how the Ghost protocol blocked, logged, and neutralized it in real time. The room fell silent. Then came the applause, slow at first, then thunderous. As I stepped back, Damien Voss stood. Effective immediately, he announced, voice firm, Ira Wilson is my official successor. Lena shot to her feet, face flushed, and stormed out. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a message from Derek. You've ruined everything. I didn't open it fully. I just saved the demo logs, powered down my laptop, and walked off stage. Some victories don't need words. They just need proof. Derek was cornered, no job, no reputation, no money. So he did what cowards do. He tried to sell secrets. A tabloid published a hit piece titled Ira Wilson's Dark Past. Fired for code theft. The article claimed I'd stolen Axiom Flow from a former employer and fabricated my clean record. The worst part? A forged police report dated the exact day I founded my company, complete with fake badge numbers and a doctored letterhead. My hands trembled for the first time in months. This wasn't just slander. It was an attempt to rewrite my entire life. But I didn't panic. I opened my secure archive and pulled 11 years of truth. W-2s, client contracts, GitHub commit histories, tax returns, all time-stamped and verified. I compiled them into a single public file titled The Real Record, 2013 to 2024. Then I posted it online and tagged the tabloid. Publish a full retraction by noon, or I file a $10 million defamation lawsuit. I didn't bluff. My legal team was already drafting papers. By 11:30 a.m., their editor called Voss's lawyers. The retraction went live at 11:58. But Derek? He vanished, no calls, no texts, just radio silence. I knew he was hiding. But silence never lasts when you're drowning in debt and shame. The retraction stopped the bleeding, but the whispers continued online. So I did more than defend, I demonstrated. I live-streamed a full walkthrough of my career. My garage workstation, my old MacBook covered in stickers, notebooks filled with design sketches. This, I said, holding up a 2019 invoice for server costs I paid myself, is what real independence looks like. I showed how Axiom Flow evolved, one commit at a time without outside funding. Viewers flooded the chat. Respect. You built this alone. Wow. Real ones know. By the end, the tableau story was buried under truth. But Derek stayed hidden. I didn't chase him. Instead, I focused on integrating Axiom into Voss AI's public API. Then, 3 days later, my security system pinged. An unusual login from a proxy in Reno. It was Derek. He tried to access my old personal cloud storage. I let him in, but only to a decoy folder labeled secret backups. Inside were fake files full of harmless but misleading data. He downloaded everything. I logged every byte, every timestamp. Let him think he'd struck gold. In reality, he just handed me more evidence of his desperation. My phone buzzed, a message from Voss. He's digging his own grave. I replied, let him dig. I'll bring the shovel. Then came the whistleblower report, a slick PDF sent to every major regulator. Ira Wilson used Voss AI funds to bribe federal compliance officers, it claimed, citing fake invoices and altered emails. Within hours, the SEC announced an inquiry. My personal and company accounts were frozen. Tech forums exploded. She was too perfect. Classic fraud hides behind ethics. Even a few former supporters fell silent. I sat in my office, staring at the SEC letter. My chest felt tight, but my mind was ice cold. I opened my audit trail, a system I'd built from day one. Every dollar Voss AI spent was logged. Timestamp, vendor, purpose, approval chain, receipt. No slush funds. No off-books payments. Just clean, transparent spending. I compiled the data into a 47-page forensic report and sent it to the SEC and to Voss. His reply was one word. Wait. That night, I dug into the whistleblower's claims. The evidence came from a shell company called Nexa Compliance. I ran a WHOIS lookup on their domain. It was registered to Derek's cousin in Boise. I smiled. They were getting sloppy. I added this to my file and whispered, one more mistake. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, I knew the end was near. The SEC dropped the case within 48 hours. Their public statement was blunt. No evidence of misconduct. Inquiry dismissed in full. But they weren't done. Hours later, they announced a new investigation into Derek Reeves and his cousin for fabricating evidence, filing false claims, and attempting to manipulate federal regulators. I didn't celebrate. I simply archived the SEC's letter and updated my internal risk log. Threat level low. That evening, Voss called. You stayed clean when it mattered most, he said, voice thick with respect. That's rarer than genius. I thanked him, but my mind was already on the future. I opened the Axiom core and began finalizing its integration into Voss AI's public infrastructure. No more hiding behind corporate walls. No more fear of theft. Just open, ethical technology for everyone. My phone buzzed, a message from Lena. I never meant for it to go this far. I didn't reply. Words meant nothing now. Only actions did. And mine were already changing the world, one line of honest code at a time. Lena showed up at my office unannounced, her usual confidence replaced by hollow eyes and trembling hands. I'll take any role, she said, voice cracking. QA, data entry, cleaning servers, just don't shut me out. I didn't offer her a chair. You had access to everything, I replied calmly. You chose to burn it. She flinched but didn't argue. Later that evening, an email landed in my inbox from Derek. I was used by Lena. I never meant to hurt you. I loved you, please believe that. I read it 3 times. Part of me wanted to believe it. But love doesn't steal. Love doesn't leak. Love doesn't laugh in a text while erasing your future. I opened a new message and typed, send your resume to careers@vossi.com. No promises. No warmth. Just a test. If he truly wanted redemption, he'd face the system like everyone else. If he wanted a handout, he'd rage or vanish. I knew which it would be. That night, I reviewed the final Axiom integration plan. The platform would be open, ethical, and free from control. No more hiding behind paywalls or NDAs. Just pure, accountable technology. My phone buzzed, Lena again. You'll regret shutting me out. I archived the message without replying. Regret was a luxury I'd outgrown. My work now spoke for itself, and it said everything I needed to say. Derek applied under his real name first. The system auto-rejected him. His name was on Voss AI's permanent blacklist for IP theft and fraud. 2 days later, he reapplied under Eric Dawson. HR, unaware of the alias, scheduled an interview. I watched the live feed from my office. He wore a borrowed suit, slightly too big, and leaned forward with practiced charm. I work closely with Ira, he told the panel. I understand her design philosophy. I can help optimize Axiom Flow from the inside. My stomach turned, but my hand stayed still. After the interview, I reviewed his file. No experience, no certifications, just confidence built on borrowed credit. I approved the hire, not out of mercy, but strategy. Title, Level 1 Support Technician. Salary, $48,000. No stock. No access beyond basic tickets. His first assignment? Triage password reset request for the very platform he tried to steal. I set up a silent monitor to track his screen. Day 1, he tried to access admin logs. Denied. Day 2, he complained about archaic workflows in the staff chat. I logged it. Day 3, he sent me an internal message. Can we talk? I blocked him instantly. He wasn't a threat anymore. Just a reminder of what happens when you confuse charm with competence. The Axiom launch event filled the Voss AI auditorium to capacity. Engineers, students, journalists, all waiting to see what I'd built. I walked on stage in a simple black dress, no fanfare. Today I began, we retire Voss AI's old model. I revealed the new structure, open ethics, transparent decision logs, and full developer autonomy. Then I made the announcement that stunned the room. All core AI modules are now open source under the Axiom ethics license. No fees, no surveillance, no hidden terms. The crowd erupted, not in polite applause, but in roaring cheers from the people who actually build things. I renamed the platform simply Axiom. No Voss, no ego, just truth in code. Afterward, I mingled quietly near the refreshments. That's when I saw him, Derek, in a wrinkled suit, holding a printed support ticket. He approached, eyes downcast. Ma'am, he said, voice flat, this user can't reset their password. It's a level 1 priority. I took the ticket, signed my initials at the bottom, and handed it back without a word. He hesitated, then walked away. My assistant whispered, was that really him? I nodded. Yes. And now he fixes what he broke, one ticket at a time. Voss summoned me to his private office one rainy afternoon. The board has voted, he said, sliding a contract across his desk. You now own 51% of Voss AI outright. Full control. I looked at the papers but didn't touch them. Instead, I handed him a new document, my proposal. I want to convert Voss AI into an employee-owned co-op, I said. You keep your name and legacy, but the company belongs to those who build it every day. He read it slowly, his expression unreadable. Then he looked up, eyes glistening. You didn't just save my company, he said softly. You saved me from becoming the man I once was. He signed without hesitation. As I stood to leave, he reached into his desk and handed me a brass key. To my private server room, he said. There's one last project I never finished. I didn't ask what it was. I already knew. That night, I used the key. Inside the locked room sat a single server, humming softly. On its screen, Project Veritas, incomplete. Its purpose? Real-time detection of corporate fraud, money laundering, and executive deception. Damien's final act of atonement. And now my responsibility. I plugged in my drive and began where he left off. I spent 6 weeks completing Veritas. I hardened its algorithms, trained it on global fraud patterns, and embedded ethical guardrails so it couldn't be weaponized. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, I did what no billionaire ever would. I released it, free, open source, to every financial regulator, watchdog agency, and university in the world. Within a month, Veritas exposed a $2 billion fraud ring tied to a U.S. senator. Another case collapsed a shell network linked to Derek's cousin. Justice, like good code, doesn't need headlines, it just needs to run. At the annual Voss AI conference, I gave the keynote, not as CEO, but as lead architect. Afterward, I stood by the demo booths, answering questions from young developers. That's when I saw him. Derek, in a cheap suit 2 sizes too big, holding a printed support ticket. He approached nervously. Ma'am, he said, this user's printer won't connect to Axiom Flow. I took the ticket, signed my initials at the bottom, and handed it back without looking up. He mumbled thanks and vanished into the crowd. My assistant asked, do you ever regret letting him stay? I watched a group of students coding on open Axiom terminals, laughing as their bots passed security checks. No, I said softly. Some people build worlds. Others just beg for a corner in them. I am Ira Wilson, and this is my world.